Montreal riding a 4-game winning streak, coming off a thrilling 25-24 comeback win in Ottawa last week, but a huge test for them tonight. Winnipeg coming off a 19-18 victory in Calgary last week, also riding a 4-game winning streak, a monster game for both of these teams. We spoke about this in the pregame, but the importance for the Montreal Alouettes. And then I said, too, it's not like they're catching the Toronto Argos, and all of you said, whoa.
No.
Toronto's on their final bye right now.
Yep.
They've got to play 10 straight games, and you never know what's going to happen in the CFL. But really, Milt, just to prove that they even belong in the same conversation as the Toronto Argonauts and get by one of these big 3 teams in the CFL.
Yeah, and they're in a great position right now. They're 6-3, but they haven't beaten one of the upper echelon teams. They haven't beaten Toronto. They haven't beaten BC. They haven't beaten Winnipeg, and their next 4 games are against those 3 teams. So it starts tonight with Winnipeg.
They've played them all.
And they've lost them all.
For your mental toughness, for your mental aspect, you have to say, I could beat one of those teams. We got it done.
Now, hey, beyond the mental, we've all fawned over Toronto and the way they've played and Chad Kelly and all this. If Montreal wins tonight, they're 7 wins. Toronto's at 7 wins. I know they're big favorites tomorrow night, but they'd be equal in the win column,
True.
which I wouldn't have seen coming.
There's no doubt that they are right on the heels. This game for Toronto is huge tomorrow should Montreal win this one tonight.
You know what? That's the best part of the CFL, though. We think we know what we're talking about at the beginning of the season. It all changes.
Thank you, Kate. It is a week of East-West showdowns beginning here, IG Field in Winnipeg, between the 6-3 Montreal Alouettes and the 8-2 Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 2 teams with a lot in common lately. They're both riding 4-game winning streaks, including the last 2 wins without their number 1 quarterbacks, who are back for this one tonight.
Yeah, for the Montreal Alouettes, we will see Cody Fajardo tonight. The last time he played a full game was against Hamilton and threw for over 300 yards in that one. So Cody Fajardo back, and this team on a 4-game winning streak, as is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who get Zach Collaros back in the lineup. And Zach, the last time, or his last 3 games before his injury against Edmonton, were all over 300 yards passing. Zach Collaros starts tonight for the Bombers.
His head coach, Mike O'Shea, the longest current tenured head coach in the CFL. This is his 9th season on the Bombers sideline, and off to another great record of 8-2, as mentioned, leading the way in the West after going 15-3 last year. And Jason Moss, his first in the sideline of the Alouettes. Impressive 6-3 record. One of those 3 losses came to O'Shea's Blue Bombers back in Canada Day in Montreal, July the 1st, by a low score of 17-3. The Bomber defense really on that one. And dare I mention, there was a weather delay in that game, a long one. We're hoping that's not the case. See, I'm hoping to jinx it. By mentioning it, I'm hoping to say jinx it. It won't happen tonight.
Hey, that last game that these 2 teams played each other, 17-3 win for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Dembski wasn't in that game. Neither was Kenny Lawler. So I'll be interested to see how the Alouettes handle one of the great inside receivers and great wide receivers in the game in Kenny Lawler and Nick Dembski tonight.
Just a remarkable receiving core the Bombers have assembled. It was great even before Lawler rejoined the team late. Spent last year with Edmonton and on the suspended list to start this season, but back in, and he's racked up a lot of yardage. And both of these teams coming in, as mentioned, on 4-game winning streaks. Yes, a lot in common. And for Montreal, the panel talked about it, a big one tonight against a top echelon team.
Well, and both these teams better coming out of these injuries to their star players. With Cody Fajardo out, Caleb Evans got a couple wins under his belt, and he feels pretty good about that. That makes their team stronger. And Drew Brown on the other side, when he replaced Zach Collaros, was down by 22 against Edmonton and brought them all the way back to a win against the Elks, and then won his start. So again, both the stars are back on the field, but they're better teams with their backups getting a little bit of experience.
The Alouettes won the toss. They have deferred to the second half. There's a breeze about 30 kilometers an hour from the northeast. And it is David Cote in his 3rd year out of Laval to get this one started. And Greg McCrae with Janarian Grant still on the injured list. McCrae handling the return duties and is back standing at the Winnipeg 15. Week 12 is underway. And the Bombers will have the ball first, with McCrae taking it. Up across the 30, Greg McCrae, and he is finally hauled down up around the 40 for Zach Collaros, who went out in the first half 3 weeks ago against Edmonton and back now still top-rated quarterback in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, and front runner for the MOP. There are other guys in that list. We can talk about that as this game goes on, but I still think your front runner, you're looking at him at 7-2 on 8-2. The Bombers are on the season, 7-2 for Zach against Montreal. Against Cody Fajardo, he's 8-0, as the panel mentioned. Now, they don't play against each other on the field, but they go battle each other from the quarterback position.
So here we go, possession number 1 for Winnipeg. And quickly looking is Collaros, but he doesn't like what he sees, so he takes off with Sean Lemon chasing him. Intercepted right away. And it's Tyrell Richards with it, and what a start for the Alouettes. Richards, a top draft pick last year in the CFL out of Syracuse. He picks off Collaros on the first play, and the Alouettes have the early lead.
Shows blitz at the line of scrimmage and then is just going to bail out of there. He's showing blitz. He drops. It's kind of like a disguise, and now he is just mirroring the movements of Zach Collaros, who tries to throw it against the flow. And even veteran quarterbacks can get in trouble when you're rolling hard right and you try and throw it back against that flow into the middle. Wow, Richards takes it to the house to start this off.
His first interception of the season, he'll remember that one with a point after from Cote. So just like that, the first play from scrimmage, and it's a touchdown, a defensive TD for Richards and the Alouettes.
See the pressure coming off the edge there from Jamal Davis and Sean Lemon from the backside, just causing Zach Collaros to do something you don't see very often. Tell you one guy who does like it, DC Noel Thorpe over there with Montreal will start on that first play, pick 6. Can't get a better start defensively.
With the injury a few weeks ago to Avery Williams, they've made some changes at linebacker. Frederick Chagnon had started some games in the middle, and Richards starting this game with the interception for the touchdown. So how about that? I mean, panel was talking about what kind of statement the Alouettes have to make against an upper echelon team. That's certainly a good way to start it.
Yeah, good way to start. Lots of game to play. Good way to start, and Zach Collaros will get the ball right back. That's the one thing the quarterbacks love. When they make a bad decision like that, right back on the field the very next time.
So let's do this again. Another kickoff. A few moments later for Greg McRae, and this time he gets it out to about the 36. So back comes Collaros and Richards on the field. And this is what happened just a couple of minutes ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, just a great acquisition to get Sean Lemon. More on that as this game goes on. He was the first guy circled on the right side of your screen. He comes around the horn and is getting Zach Collaros on the run, and then Jamal Davis right there as well. And that's what forces a bad decision by the veteran. Try and throw it back against the flow. Don't see it very often.
They go to the ground now, and Brady Oliveira, leading rusher in the Canadian Football League, and he gets it up across the Bomber 40 for a second down and short.
Well, I've put Stanley Bryant and Jamarcus Hardrick as the two guys I highlighted on the Winnipeg O-line because I want to see the matchup with the veteran Sean Lemon and Jamal Davis coming on as well. And there's Demski, who again did not play against Montreal, so we'll see how the Alouettes secondary try to lock him down, and Zach Collaros called him the best corner route runner he thinks in the entire league.
And a dubious note for Collaros, that's back-to-back passes that have been intercepted for touchdowns. His last play before getting hurt against Edmonton. Under pressure here, and he does complete it at the 40, and Chagnon's in to make the tackle, but not before it turns into a first down for Rasheed Bailey and the Bombers.
He's got his check down outside. Again, the pocket collapsing on him. This is a very good defense, a highly ranked defense, #1 in pass yards allowed. They're only allowing 19.9 points per game. Montreal Alouettes on defense. So as veteran as this offense is, and this offensive line for the Bombers, got their hands full tonight.
Oliveira in the backfield. In motion is shown. It does go to Oliveira on first down as he drives up closer to the 50 as we take a look at the Alouettes defense.
Well, he's been there for 4 games, and he's got 4 sacks, which leads the team. And then talking about Sean Lemon, who has 96 career sacks. there's commonality there in the schools they came from. And there's Beverett, one of the best, if not the best, linebacker in the league. One of the most underrated probably too. And you take a look at the secondary, and Marc-Antoine Dequoy, and now this is subjective, but at this point of the season, if I was picking a CFL All-Star at safety, he'd be the guy.
You know a thing or two about the position. Dequoy's been great in the start of his career. So off to the wide side now, intended for Schoen, but it sails out of bounds on a 2nd and 7. So Jamison Sheehan, the punter for Winnipeg, comes on as the Bombers get set to kick it away.
Kalara's not settled yet in the pocket. In the pocket, not real strong in the first 2 series. The first one, pick 6, he was flushed out. There are 2 plays where he threw the ball where he had guys right in his face.
Chandler Worthy back for the punt, averaging 8.8 yards per return. Has a touchdown as well. Some heat coming in there on Sheehan as he gets this one away down to the 10. Nice punt by Sheehan, and here comes Worthy. After a 52-yarder, but a pretty good return above his average by Chandler Worthy, who gets it just across the Alouettes 25. So finally, we'll see Cody Fajardo and the Montreal offense, thanks to their defense, staked to a 7-point lead here in Winnipeg. Back in Winnipeg, during the break, the command center suits looked at that punt by Sheehan and ruled that Bryce Notre had made contact, and therefore Winnipeg keeps possession of the ball.
Well, 10-yard penalty, and they were 3rd and 7.
After review, was contacting the kicker against Montreal, number 44. It's a 10-yard penalty, makes it a first down.
Announced by the referee Tim Croker. So yes, from a 3rd and 7 to a first down for Winnipeg because of the contact made by Notre on Jamison Sheehan.
Contacting the kicker, 10-yard penalty on 3rd down. And commercial reset in the first break for the Bombers tonight.
Kenny Lawler wide to the left, faking the handoff and throwing over the middle, and that is complete to Drew Wolotarski. Coming in, and looks like another first down. The sticks move again for the Bombers.
Buck Pierce and the Bomber offense going with a little play action here to try and slow down that rush a little bit. In order to do that successfully, they're going to have to give the ball to Brady Oliveira, which is never a bad thing.
Not the way he's been running this season, no.
A series ago as well.
So Bombers suddenly on the move in Al's territory at the Montreal 40. And there he is running, Brady Oliveira, and Notre coming in. Mustafa Johnson had a hold of him as well, and they limit his yardage there to about 1 yard, 2nd down and long.
Well, the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League coming into the week, Brady Oliveira, who is on pace for over 1,400 yards rushing. And you put that in perspective when you put this board up when it comes to Canadian tailbacks, and John Cornish back-to-back big years, of course, in 12 and 13. Normie Kwong in 56, and a couple extra as he goes along here. He could maybe come in 2nd place for sure.
Got early movement on the line. Looks like the right guard Patrick Neufeld as the flags come out on that 2nd down and long.
Procedure. Winnipeg number 53, 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
But to your point, you see Andrew Harris on that list, an old teammate and mentor of Brady Oliveira.
Paces are fun. They often will even out and things happen. You never know, but fun to take a look at, especially at the midway point, which is we basically just passed it. And looking at some of the matchups down the road and some of the pace of some of these players that are 1,400 in the season. Pretty good for Brady Oliveira. Not pretty good, fantastic.
Very good, yeah. Coming in at 783 on the ground. He's added to that tonight, and that one. Alouettes think it's not a catch by Dalton Schoen.
I think they're waving it off.
No catch it is.
Yeah, the officials got this right too. When you take a look at it one more time, you can see the ball bounce off the turf. Does a nice job of hiding it, but would have given Sergio Castillo a lot more comfortable field goal attempt here.
This one will be over 50. I should point out Castillo, as longest in the season is 53. He is 3 for 3 from 50 plus. So this one about 52 with Sheehan to put it down for Castillo to get the Bombers on the board. It is wide right as Worthy takes it out of the end zone. Chandler Worthy, and he will be taken down at about the 7-yard line. So Castillo misses his first one from over 50. The Alouettes will start deep in their own zone, still with a 7-0 lead. There's Cody Fajardo back playing for the first time since getting hurt in Hamilton, a left shoulder injury 3 weeks ago. His numbers heading into this game.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the list of people that disagreed with Milt Stegall on who should start this game tonight for the Montreal Alouettes in the pregame. Because their starter's back. You go back to your starter when he's ready to go and Cody's healthy.
On a 1st and 10, and they're hemmed in deep, and he's got a deep ball. Look here, complete too, up to the 25, and just put in perfectly for his leading receiver, the leading receiver in the CFL, Austin Mack.
Boy, but does he ever do a nice job of coming back to the football? He's going to go down the field here, and as he goes down on this deep out, very deep out, watch him come back to the football, a little stem against the zone, and then he comes back, draws him all the way back 2 yards to come back and continue that separation on Winston Road.
Well, you talk about pace and Oliveira. Max on pace for over 1,500 yards receiving this season. On the ground to William Stanback with his first carry as he drives through closer to the 30, just over the 28.
Take a look at this offense. If the Bombers decide to go with some pressure, Justin Lawrence is the guy who's got to make the calls up front, make sure they're sound so that Cody can beat the blitz offensively. Tyler Snead is on a roll. Another great acquisition from Montreal to get 2 rookies that are playing at the level they are in Austin Mack and Tyler Snead. He's a little guy, but he plays big.
5'7", and Mack has dominated the headlines understandably, but Snead, a couple of touchdown catches, 7 targets, 7 catches last week from Caleb Evans, and a big part of their comeback against the Red Blacks in Ottawa. Seven nothing Alouettes. You're just joining us. First play from scrimmage, an interception for a touchdown by Montreal linebacker Tyrell Richards. 2nd and 8. Off to the right, complete first down. Who are we talking about? But Tyler Snead, the rookie out of East Carolina. Small in stature and big on some plays there in a first down, Alouettes.
Well, great route runner, tremendous competitor, and they love him. I mean, he's just making plays for them and getting open. And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if you're 6'4" or 5'4", you get open, the quarterback likes you.
Gets up to the 35 now. They had started inside the 10. Fajardo back to Stanback. But a lighter game of 10 carries for 31 yards only for number 31 last week in Ottawa.
Well, let's take a look at his 7 targets, 7 catches for 98 yards in the big comeback, and good on Caleb Evans for playing the way he did in that second half. But Tyler Snead, again, playing big. And we asked him this week about, as a smaller guy, do you play with a chip on your shoulder? And he says, yeah, my dad taught me a long time ago, call it a boulder. I play with a boulder on my shoulder.
And on that second down play, they only needed a few yards, but they got just about nothing. Ricky Walker in there up front for Winnipeg, and that'll force Joseph Zima and the Alouettes to punt it away.
Yeah, it's tough to run against this defense in 2nd and medium. I mean, you're 2nd and 5. You want to run. You're going to try to fool a defense that this good in the front 4. Look at the interior with Jake Thomas and Ricky Walker in there. That's asking a lot out of 31.
Joseph Zima, the leader in the Canadian Football League in net punting average, is standing just inside his 30. Greg McRae back for the Bombers at his 15. Another great Australian punter. This one a little bit shorter inside the 30 as McRae came in, but he has nowhere to go Regis Sibasu finishing things off on that coverage of the punt for Montreal. Zach Collaros. Rough start, throwing an interception for a touchdown. He's certainly bounced back from those before. Here's a list of the all-time passing leaders in the history of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Zach Collaros just arrived in 2019, but he's getting close to 10,000 suits.
Yeah. And again, having an MOP type of season. And before he went down, his 3 games, his previous 3 games were all over 300. He's on a tremendous pace himself.
Dieter Brock, great talent as well. But here on the move is Greg McRae. Been returning kicks, and he's in running the football there for a first down up across the Bomber 45.
Yeah, change of pace guy. Greg McRae getting a chance in the backfield. He gets a handful of these throughout the season and kind of change up so that the defense can't get too locked into Brady Oliveira.
Versatility, you talked about it against Calgary here several weeks ago. Caught a touchdown pass from Collaros, and after Janarian Grant got hurt, he returned a missed field goal 100 yards nearly for another touchdown. There's Sean Lemon, 4 sacks in 4 games. So put a lot more pressure from that D line, and they got it in there against the run. Lemonator isn't just about sacking quarterbacks, he's stopping the run there too.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's also about this, which is getting after it and using his instincts and his great experience in all the games he's played in, all the different teams he's played on and played against, to play the play. You know, basically whatever his assignment was there, contain or not, he just played the play and made the tackle.
The sacks are what people talk about. He had 14 last year with the Calgary Stampeders as a free agent.
Crazy.
Collaros back now. And throwing it off to the right. No, out of bounds. Rasheed Bailey, the intended receiver, so Winnipeg will have to punt it away again.
We'll take another look just to see if Bailey get a foot in bounds with possession. Oh, he didn't catch it. It went right through and bounced off the turf.
Jamison Sheehan. Earlier in this game, there was a contacting the punter call that extended the Winnipeg drive, this time getting it away clean and down to Chandler Worthy. And a flag comes out on the return as he is taken down just across the 25. 1 pick six still standing and a 7-0 Montreal lead. This was the play 2 weeks ago in Edmonton. First half, Zach Collaros back, tries to make something out of this play, and as he's going down and getting rid of it, he is hit there by the Elks' Coney Ely. With more, let's go down to the sideline and John Liu. John?
Yeah, well, thank you, Rod. And earlier this week, Zach Collaros said that he did not believe there was intent behind the hit by Edmonton's Coney Ely that caused a neck injury on Collaros that caused him to miss the better part of the last 2 games. However, the Bombers QB did say that the hit was late, in his opinion, while simultaneously accepting responsibility for what he called, quote, a stupid play, a situation where he felt that he should have gotten rid of the ball sooner. Nevertheless, this incident keeps the discussion open about how to keep the league's marquee players on the field, guys.
Zach Collaros missed the rest of that game and all of last week in Calgary, but back tonight it's the Alouettes football from their 7, starting deep in their zone again. And William Stanback takes it right side, and he picks up about 4 or 5. But it's a sight no one, of course, wanted to see, Suits, when Collaros went down in Edmonton.
Yeah, no question. And, you know, I know from sitting in previous Rules Committee meetings at different times that it is a definite priority for the Canadian Football League and for the officials to try and protect the marquee players. And there's no bigger marquee player anywhere in the country than this guy and Zach Collaros. So obviously great to have him back. I know a lot of starters have been nicked up, including Cody Fajardo.
A 2nd and 5, Alouettes blitz coming, and a hand gets up in the air. As you see, little high fives there with Kyrie Wilson and Willie Jefferson, who's leading the CFL in pass knockdowns, but there was a lot of hands up there for Fajardo to try to throw through.
Yeah, so, you know, and again, I think both of these teams are now stronger. You know, no one wants to see anyone go down, but both of these teams are now stronger where their backups got some wins under their belt. Their backups got some playing time, and Caleb Evans is a better player today, and their team is stronger because of that. So we're seeing a lot of young quarterbacks do some good things in the league this year.
Joseph Zima from his end zone. Bombers will be in good shape. With McRae taking it at the Winnipeg 50 midfield and then out of bounds. And a flag coming out late as Noel Thorpe tries to come over and plead the case on behalf of the Alouettes. But will this one be moving up even further against Montreal? Already, Collaros past midfield to start this drive.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Montreal, number 34. 15-yard penalty. First down, Winnipeg.
Take another look. You'll see 34 flash out of bounds and continue to take the ball carrier straight to the ground, well out of bounds.
Veteran Alexander Gagne flagged for that, so it moves up to the Montreal 38.
Starting the drive in field goal range.
Trailing 2 by 7 after the interception by Tyrell Richards for a touchdown in the opening play. Brady Oliveira breaks it left side, finds room, puts his head down, and has a first down on that first down play for Winnipeg.
This is a technique from the tailback spot that Brady Oliveira learned from Andrew Harris, and through working with him and talking to him day in, day out in practice, that pushing the line of scrimmage.
Collaros rolls out to his right. He completes one down to the 15. Catch number 1 of this game for Nick Dembski.
Yeah, handling him is going to be interesting. Who's the matchup? Who's Nick Dembski going to be running against? Zach Collaros has nothing but great things to say about one of his top receivers. Talked about that corner route. Dembski is such a versatile player. He can run from the backfield. He can play tailback. We've talked about that at length, but you know, I never thought of him as a top end. Runs great routes, don't get me wrong, but a top end corner route runner. But Zach said, well, you tell me a better corner route guy than Nick Dembski in the league.
To hear Collaros rave about him.
Yeah.
Nobody like him. From the Montreal 15. Bowling his way through. Helmet comes off. Brady Oliveira, they whistle that. And a flag comes out as he is tossed down to the turf. J.R. Reed involved in that tackle of Oliveira, who quite early in that play had the hat come off, and they had whistled it down.
Probably goes half the distance from the end of the gain. Again, just Oliveira just pressing the line, and then he finds his hole, and then if there's not a hole, he's going to try and create a hole. And now you can't continue to participate.
Face mask. Montreal number 42. Half the distance to goal. And automatic first down.
Oh yeah, no question. Side of the face mask.
And that's Richards, who is the biggest play of this game with the interception earlier for a touchdown. As Oliveira heading down there without his helmet. So yeah, it comes all the way to the Montreal 5 now on a 1st and goal. Winnipeg closing in, trying to tie this game. Oliveira, 3, and not much past the 3-yard line as they push him back. A lot of hard hitting down there inside with that Alouette defense.
Well, and it took all of them. I mean, this is what run defense is all about. Run defense is about 12 hats to the football, and just keep going, because you know one thing, Brady Oliveira's not going to stop. Tries to push his way, bull his way there. Now he'll try and spin out of this one.
Chagnon initially.
J.R. Reed jumps in there to help out.
All those linebackers getting in on the act here to make it a 2nd and goal from the 4. Faking to Oliveira. Collaros dumps it. Touchdown. Dalton Show. first receiving touchdown of the season for last year's Rookie of the Year, Dalton Schoen.
Yeah, and I think we're halfway through now or just past, and, you know, I think it's fair to say that Dalton Schoen is not going to have the sophomore jinx. He's picked up right where he left off last year in his outstanding award-winning rookie season. Makes himself available for that little toss from Zach Collaros.
He's one of the receivers that's had a running battle for #1 in the CFL in yardage, along with Montreal's Austin Mack. You got two of the top receivers in this game tonight, and Schoen allows the Bombers to answer back. Dalton Schoen came in with 705 yards receiving. Mack came in at 773. They were that close, and Schoen has a touchdown, as he did back in Montreal in Week 4 in the Bombers' victory over the Alouettes.
And this is Dalton Schoen on this touchdown, basically just not making it up as he goes along, but he is actually the pick man here, or the rub guy. He comes down inside, and when he does, he's just trying to create some interference for Lawler on the push to the flat, and then he realizes that Zach's on the roll, so he makes himself available, gets open, and gets some separation for the touchdown.
That was his first catch of this game, 4 yards, but 4 yards leads to 7 points right there for 83.
Don't worry if you're not the primary receiver when the call is made in the huddle. Keep working. You never know.
Tyson Philpott back there with Chandler Worthy for this kickoff as the Bombers come back and tie the score at 7. Here's Worthy. Across the 30. And Les Marua, good special teamer for Winnipeg in there on the tackle. So back comes Cody Fajardo. 4 for 8, 32 yards, a touchdown. Or excuse me, 2 for 3, 24 yards in this one.
Yeah, and we haven't seen him push it down the field. That's something before he got injured that he was doing very well. Those big plays. Got a good receiving core to get it done in Austin Mack. And now Tyler Snead getting going. He got Philpott back in the lineup as well.
Pierre-Olivier Lestage, the left guard, is injured and out. Jamar McGloster is in there on the offensive line now for the Owls. Go to the right. Winston Rose, what's coming in? But it is in the hands of Tyler Snead, and a first down. It was so close for Winston Rose.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. I mean, you take a look at Snead running this quick out route here, and Rose coming downhill. Look out. Just a split second behind, or he's gone to the house.
Tyler Snead with his second catch of this ball game.
Rose saying there, right there, Rod, he's saying, go ahead, try that again. Go ahead, one more time.
He'll be ready. He'll be coming. 1st and 10 at the 47 Alouettes. Throwing again, and a nice catch too by Mack on that slant route to get it down to the Winnipeg 50 as Mack continues to make quite the impression, his first in the CFL. But he is limping as he gets up, trying to shake it off. And that is quarter time. Austin Mack to get the first down there for the Alouettes to start the second. Montreal hoping he is okay. Leading receiver in the Canadian Football League. Tie game through 1. Interesting first quarter. The game is tied at 7. The Alouettes exploded on that first play from scrimmage by Winnipeg. Richards with the pick 6 to take the lead. But the Bombers, and you look at the time of possession at the bottom, Suits, have really kind of taken over this game and come back to tie it.
Well, yeah, I think they dominated that first quarter, really, when you consider that just Alouettes had the one play, the interception for a touchdown. Beyond that, the field position advantage has been with Winnipeg in a big way, and just there with Dalton Schoen, they get that 7 points on the board as the payoff for being the better team in the first quarter. And the one thing we haven't really seen yet, as I mentioned, is Cody Fajardo try to push the ball deep. Looks like Austin Mack is going to stay in the game. He's down there by the 50.
So they say take over, not on the scoreboard, but you say they were the better team after giving up that touchdown. But Fajardo trying to get that offense moving again, and they're in Winnipeg's territory at the 50. Williams stand back. Yards coming at a premium for the Owls Toronto's top running back, Jackson Jeffcoat, in there.
But you have to do that, though. And I think, you know, when I talk about Cody pushing the ball deep, you don't want to change your game plan. Stanback's got to be part of it because you got to keep Jackson Jeffcoat and Willie Jefferson honest. You have to keep them honest on the line of scrimmage. They'll still make their plays. They're that good. But if they start pinning their ears back and getting after Cody Fajardo, it's going to be a long night.
Passing situation here in a 2nd and 7. Four-man rush. Deeper look to the right. It's caught again by Austin Mack. Demario Houston pushing him out.
Well, great to see that Austin Mack's okay. On that slant route just before the break, he looked like he grabbed his ankle. But he's back in there running this speed out the short side of the field against the top defensive back stealing the football in the league in Demario Houston. Talked about him in the pregame. He's always close by. So you got to be on time on those throws or he's taking it the other way.
Mack with a couple of catches now. There's the play fake. Willie Jefferson right in with a flag coming out. Good coverage down there intended for Tyson Philpott, but Jefferson had his hands in the face of Fajardo just coming in, and that's when the flag came out in the Alouette backfield. Where the Alouettes guilty of holding there as Jefferson was steamrolling in.
Holding. Montreal number 68. 10-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Well, here's Willie Jefferson, as you mentioned, Rod, coming off the edge, and he's free. Also, I believe Cam Lawson gets good pressure up the middle. Holding, they said, was on number 68, the left guard at the top of your screen.
So pushing back 10, 1st and 20 from the Bomber, 49 for Fajardo. Fajardo inside the 35, and that one is complete to Tyson Philpott, his first catch of this game. And they get some of it back, a good chunk.
He's got to regroup now. And the medical spotters, that was a big hit. And it was kind of sandwiched, but the medical spotters are going to have to, they would pull him out of the game here anyway.
The contact from Reddick Cramdy and also the contact with his head hitting the field as well. They talk to Philpott. We'll take a break. The Canadian Football League is mourning the passing of a great linebacker who spent most of his career with the Alouettes, Carl Cornell, a 3-time Grey Cup champion, including one with the Alouettes on a tremendous defense. He also played briefly with Winnipeg and won again a Grey Cup in 1979 with Edmonton. Carl Cornell is 74 years of age, passing away earlier this week. 7-7 tie. Cody Fajardo and the Alouettes have the ball. First down, or 2nd and 5, inside the 35 of Winnipeg. And just tiptoeing the sidelines is Austin Mack for another catch as they discuss it. Does he keep the feet down? Still no official signal on that as they talk it over, and Mack's trying to help them with their decision.
Take another look, but it looked like live that he got 1 foot in. Snap the ball.
They got the play snapped, and now you hear whistles go.
Well, because I think Mike O'Shea threw his challenge flag just before the snap.
The Alouettes, for obvious reasons, wanted to get that play started to avoid the possibility of a challenge, but O'Shea got the flag out, and as we saw in that replay, this might be coming back.
Winnipeg is challenging the previous play for a completed catch. The play will be reviewed.
In the CFL, you just need 1 foot down, but as we saw, that 1 foot looked like it was touching the white on that replay.
Yeah, 1 foot and control of the ball. So the right foot
matter of the timing between the control of the football on the catch and if the foot was still down or did it come up off the turf, because the next drag of the foot is out of bounds. So it's a matter of the timing between the security of the ball there and whether or not that foot was still down.
And to your point, it looked like the feet were already off the ground when he caught it, so it would depend on the landing, right?
Well, if that's the case, then it'll be overturned.
Right.
But if they determine that he had possession just before,
and did he keep control of the football when he went down? So Mike O'Shea's made the challenge, and here is the result.
After review, the ruling on the field is overturned. It's an incomplete pass. A second down.
So that's an aspect that we've got to take. You got to take another look at. Is he in control and survive the contact with the turf? So he's got control
it's third
there.
Down at the 34-yard line. Third down.
But he comes down, and then the ball hits the turf there. So that's what Michael O'Shea's spotters noticed. Good challenge. It'll get the field goal team out there instead of continuing the drive.
For David Cote, 26 of 31 this season, longest of 51. This one to be put down by Zima.
I'll tell you what, for coaches, winning a challenge is a tough thing this year.
Sure is, and that one could have saved some points there for O'Shea as they're going to try to settle for 3 from just outside the 40, but 42 yards away, and another one put through for Cote and the Alouettes, who once again have the lead. Now 10-7, second quarter, IG Field. Here in Winnipeg, as week 12 begins, 4 East-West matchups this week, beginning with the Owls leading the Bombers right now. Early second quarter by 3. Just got a field goal here. Zach Collaros over the middle, incomplete. Nick Dembski and more. Dembski on the run. And finally, Marc-Antoine Duquois is taking him down at the Alouette 25. Biggest play of the day for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And we welcome viewers in TSN 1 joining us now. The Bombers trailing by 3, but Glenn Suter, big play here. Collaros to Nick Dembski.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Bomber fan just tuning in, you just saw one of the biggest plays of the game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Dembski coming back to the football, doing a real good job of coming back through that window in the Alouette defense. Nice.
45-yard gain. Brady Oliveira slipped, and then he got his feet again, and he picks up a few more yards with Duquois taking him down, so does well to pick up what he did as he gets it closer to the, well, let's say they mark it right outside the 22.
Just got to go back to that big catch over the middle. I just want to show the young receivers that are watching tonight to come back to the ball. Come back to the football. Don't sit there and wait on it. And Zach Collaros here throws it to a spot. He throws it to that spot in between the linebackers, and Nick Dembski comes back to get it. Then he has some room to make some moves in the open field.
2 catches for 57 yards. Nick Dembski in his 8th year at Manitoba. There's a deep look to the end zone. Touchdown! Oh my goodness! Dalton Schoen could have pitched a tent. He was waiting for it all by himself for his 2nd touchdown of this game.
Pitched a tent, got a campfire, got some coffee going. Sit out there and just enjoy. Yeah, this is a bust in the Alouette secondary because there's no way Dalton Schoen should be that wide open. He was, and if you're that wide open, Zach Collaros will find you.
He led the CFL in receiving touchdowns in his rookie season last year. And as you say, no signs of a sophomore jinx for one of the top receivers in the Canadian Football League again this year. Touchdowns number 6 and number 7 on this night for Dalton Schoen as the Bombers have their first lead of this game.
Boy,
Boy, the straight waggle can be so confusing, even for veteran defensive backs, but certainly for young ones. What's Dalton Schoen just waggled to the line of scrimmage, little stem off the line. He stutters his feet a little bit. That freezes the secondary wide open in behind coverage for number 2 on the night.
Dalton Schoen in his second year at a Kansas State took the CFL by storm last year, and he's taken this game by storm now in the second quarter with his second touchdown of this one. So Montreal trailing for the first time as they are awaiting this kick. The Chandler Worthy at the 15, across the 30 and over the 40, and a flag coming out as he is taken down. Tyler Snead, 2 catches, 21 yards in this game tonight, and he has been a sensation for the Alouettes, and some might be reminded of someone else. Let's go back to John Liu.
Yeah, Rod, every time Tyler Snead walks into Molson Stadium in Montreal and looks up at the Ring of Honor, he sees the name Ben Cahoon and is inspired. Basically, there are comparisons being drawn between the rookie receiver Snead to the Hall of Famer because of his playmaking ability and his toughness. The Snead says that fans that go to Alouettes practices say that he reminds them of Cahoon, but no higher praise comes from anybody other than offensive coordinator Anthony Calvillo, who not only sees the comparisons, but says that Snead is actually a little shiftier than Cahoon, while adding that he sees a lot of the quiet respectfulness in Snead that marked Ben Cahoon's characteristics, guys.
That's a flattering comparison, too, as Jackson Jeffcoat comes in and Walter Fletcher on his first touch. But getting back to Snead, and not just the catches for the touchdowns, as we're going to show you here, blocking too, but this one, 3 touchdown performance against the Argos in a great back-and-forth game.
And a great defense, too. I mean, the Toronto Argonauts have a great defense, and 3 touchdowns in that game for Snead. But, yeah, I can see the comparison in a lot of ways. I mean, size-wise, obviously, but the real strong hands. That's Ben Cahoon had maybe the strongest hands in the game while he played.
Loss of 2 for Walter Fletcher. 2nd and 12 now. Fajardo from his 5. Deep over the middle. Intercepted. Brandon Alexander has his 2nd interception of the season. The first one came against the Alouettes back on July the 1st, and it turned the game around. It led to a Winnipeg touchdown on the drive later. Another big defensive play for the veteran safety, Alexander.
Yeah, Brandon Alexander over there to the right of your screen. And, you know, I think Cody Fajardo felt like he had blitz coming and thought that he would just throw it to the hole, thinking that the safety in Alexander was blitzing, and he wasn't. He was sitting back there in the middle.
And we have a challenge coming up now for the
Montreal
Alouettes.
challenging the previous play for roughing the passer. The play will be reviewed.
Wondering about that with where the arms were, and it looked like Fajardo immediately ran towards Jason Moss to tell him you might want to take another look at this one. Let's take a look. Fajardo is just about to throw when he gets right around the corner. That's Ricky Walker. So does that constitute a blow to the head? That's what the command center is looking at now, and Fajardo ran straight to the bench to get Jason Moss to challenge that one, and he did.
Well, Mike O'Shea had a successful challenge earlier in this game. Jason Moss with his first challenge, and this is a big one.
Well, spoiler alert, Fajardo's still out there.
There you go. Yeah, still Montreal football. Here's Tim Croker to make it official.
After review, the ruling on the field is overturned. It was roughing the passer against Winnipeg. It's a 15-yard penalty, an automatic first down.
Well, if the arm or hand brushes by the helmet, they have to determine in the command center whether or not it constitutes a blow to the head. And I think with Fajardo's head going back the way it did, that's what they saw, and that's why they overturned it, or called it once it was challenged.
Talk about it being tough for challenges and head coaches. They're 2 for 2 tonight, though.
Well, I think they were about 28% in the league in challenges coming into this week. 100% tonight. both challenges successful.
So Fajardo and the Owls keep the ball. They're down by 4. With time. And it's complete. Up across the 40. And getting up, Chandler Worthy, rarely used as a receiver, not targeted much, primarily a returner, but used well there for an Alouette first down.
Yeah, this is a route. Like sometimes when we see returners in the offense, you're going to see them run those bubble screens and things like that where you can get them in space so they can do what they usually do on a kick return. But this is a route run. Curl coming back to the ball, and Cody Fajardo throws it to his backside shoulder too because Rose was very close.
Just his 6th catch of the season and his longest 2 at 15. 1st and 10 at the 44. That's out to Tyson Philpott. They're trying to get him in space as he gets it up across the 50. Nice move by Philpott to get it closer to midfield, and a 2nd and short coming up for Montreal.
Well, first, good that Philpott is back on the field. Last time we saw him in the last series, he took that hit, and the spotter saw it. The official said he had to leave. He went out. He went through the protocols, back in. How about those quick feet? That first move to get good 7, 8 yards.
Well, you talk about receivers, good returners. He was last year in his rookie year. He lost out to Dalton Schoen in the Rookie of the Year voting, but he had an outstanding first season. Product of the University of Calgary. 2nd and 4. Fajardo to the left. One-on-one, and is down a bit short of Regis Sibasu, another receiver who is rarely used. Had a touchdown catch, his first in his career 3 weeks ago in Hamilton.
Yeah, Sibasu, he lines up as a tight end, and he's running the wheel route on Cramdy, and Fajardo wanted to throw behind. Sibasu didn't see it until too late. Ran about 3 yards too far. He couldn't come back to it.
So Greg McRae back for another punt return from Joseph Zima. Midway through the 2nd quarter, the Bombers enjoying the first lead of this game after the 2nd Dalton Schoen touchdown. To get the ball again, it is finally picked up by Nick Hallett coming back to help out McRae, and draws the no yards flag as well, with that ball just across the Winnipeg 20.
No yards. Montreal number 26. 15-yard penalty. First down, Winnipeg.
Nick Hallett, too, special teams tackles leader, and remember he had a big block kick in the Grey Cup in Regina last year against the Argos.
Saw some real good returns from the return guys early in the season, that first third. And now the cover teams are starting to come back and make a comeback. Saw some great cover teams last week, too.
And how much credit do you give to the punters for the placement of the ball, too? We've seen that a few times where they put it so close to the sideline, the returners don't have as many options.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's directional kicking is almost more important than length or how deep you get the ball.
But you're right. We haven't seen those same explosive returns, and Winnipeg still missing Janarian Grant, who at some point is the best in the league at it. Here's a big run from Brady Oliveira on first down. Getting a first down. Gets it up across the Winnipeg 45.
You see the press from Brady Oliveira right here. The press to the line of scrimmage allows his blocking to set up. It sets up, and then he bounces to the outside, and away he goes. I mean, that's where that patience pays off, because he gets the down block from the right side from Jamarcus Hardrick. A little bit of patience, bounces outside, big game.
4-point game right now. Winnipeg is leading it. 2nd quarter, back on the ground. No, fake and a completion to Dembski. Nice little play action, and Collaros gets it away to Dembski. He's having a good 2nd quarter here as he brings another one down, and another first down for Winnipeg.
I think every team in the league runs this play. It's play action, it's decision. Collaros has first to Oliveira. He doesn't like that. He pulls it. He gets outside. He's got the curl inside to Dembski. Good strong hands there. He's got to push to the flat. And he's got the option. He doesn't do it very often, but he's got the option to run if it's wide open off the edge. Every team in the league runs that play, and it's often successful just like that. Too many targets, too many options for the quarterback. Defensively, it puts you in a bind.
1st and 10 at the Alouette 50. Collaros steps up. He tried to get it away. He cannot. Pressure coming in. It's Mustafa Johnson. And he gets the sack. Johnson with his 4th quarterback sack of the season. That's for a unit that until they got Sean Lemon were trailing in the league in quarterback sacks.
He's working with Sean Lemon off the edge, and just a nice swim move. That right arm with the hard hit to the outside of the shoulder pads, and then he swims that left arm around, collapsing the pocket quick. Beverette off the edge. He gets in there too.
Is that a half sack then, I wonder? Yeah, I was going to say, I see Beverette maybe want some credit for that one too. Both of them. 2nd and 14 after that loss. Deflected and caught. Rasheed Bailey. After an Alouette defender touched the ball and Bailey going down, comes up with a football and a big first down.
Yeah, who got their hands on this? Because it went right through the hands of a Montreal defensive back here. J.R. Reed looked like he had a crack at it. Collaros' arm hit as he throws. There was the miss, and then is this a catch?
Montreal is challenging the ruling of a completed catch.
Wow, I think that's a catch.
I think it does look like a catch, and what an adjustment by Bailey. That wasn't a slight change of direction on the deflection either, was it?
No, not at all. That changed it, changed the spin, changed the spiral on the ball, and I think he got the right hand under it.
I think you're right.
One more time from that first angle, because they're reviewing this. There's the tip. Get that right hand, and it is under the ball. He lifts it up with the left hand. I think that's a good catch. Wow, what an adjustment.
Regardless of what they decide, what an amazing reaction by Rasheed Bailey. So Jason Moss challenges this one. He won his last challenge. How about this time around?
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Montreal, by losing the challenge, has lost the timeout.
And with that completed pass, Zach Collaros now has over 10,000 yards passing as a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Up to 10,019 on that reception.
Just enough height on that one to get it there.
20-yard pickup. Keeps it. Rolls right. Into coverage. Marc-Antoine Ducroix into double coverage, and the Alouettes pick up their 2nd interception of the night. And they're big in different ways. The first went for a touchdown. That one right down by the Montreal goal line for Marc-Antoine Ducroix with his 2nd pick of the season.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that if we were voting today, Ducroix would be my CFL All-Star free safety. He's got great range, high points the football underneath. Now, I'm not giving Zach Collaros an out here. Here's in the middle of your screen, Ducroix. I'm not giving him an out here, but how many times have we said when it comes to Kenny Lawler, you can just throw it up and he'll come down with it. Now, I'm sure that Collaros thought the same thing there. It doesn't care if he's double covered or not. My guy is going to come down with it more than is not. He gave him a chance, and Ducroix got underneath it.
Well, Ducroix's had a lot of big plays in his young career. 3rd year out of Montreal. Oh, here comes Evan Holm in the blitz. And Fajardo does manage to get it away. Holm tried to wrap him up for a safety, and Fajardo was just able to escape and throw it incomplete.
Well, you'll see him right at the bottom of the line here, coming off the edge, and he's clean. Holm coming around the corner. He has to go around the goalpost. And that's why it took a little bit longer, but Fajardo ducks it, takes a hit from Jefferson, and Holm saves the loss, or the safety, I should say. He's giving the ball back to Winnipeg.
So 2nd down now, 10 to go. The Alouettes, well, they got the turnover, but they're back at the 3 here. Under pressure again, but he escapes and he'll take off. Cody Fajardo runs for a first down, and a big one at that for the Alouettes to buy Montreal some space with 3:17 to go until the end of the first half.
Well, you said it. We're at the end, just closing in on the end of the first half. First, lots of time for Montreal to continue this drive, but let's mark this play. If the Alouettes come back and win this game, let's mark that play, because that gets the Alouettes at the very least some room to punt it if they have to.
Be the last play before the 3-minute warning. And a big first down for Montreal. William Stanback, left side. Oh, they've done a good job on him, although he keeps working, trying to drive towards the 20. It'll be a 2nd and long coming up after the timeout for the 3-minute warning. Close one here in Winnipeg near halftime, 14-10 Bombers.
If you thought Jim Barker was excited for the pregame show, you should see how excited this man is for halftime.
Give it to us again, Coach. Give it to us. There it is.
He's the Hulk.
Kate in the panel. Coming up. Couldn't see what they were doing there. See it at halftime. Cody Fajardo, 2nd and 9. Late in the half. Just throws it away. It's deflected out there by Holm, but basically throwing it out as Adam Bighill was charging in on Cody Fajardo as he got rid of that ball.
Yeah, Adam Bighill lines up on the line of scrimmage, and he's just going to track Cody Fajardo big time here on this play. He's cuts across the field. He drops to cover the fullback out of the backfield, and then look at him hustle full speed. He's still got that great linebacker speed to close in a hurry, doesn't he?
Sure does. 3rd and 9. Well, they got a bit of space and a little heat there on Joseph Zima, but does get it away. All things considered for the Alouettes. And the Bombers were pressing, and they got the interception near their end zone. So 2.5 to go, but Collaros and that Winnipeg offense coming back on the field to see if they can add to that 4-point lead before halftime.
Yeah, well, that's the difference of that one play by Cody Fajardo running. I mean, you look at that, the Bombers almost had a safety. They get an extra 2 points. They would have been up 16-10. Plus, they get the ball back with basically time to over 2 minutes to go. So that run gave them some room, and now Cody Fajardo has said, I'll put my defense out there, and hopefully they can limit the damage here.
Defense had the biggest play right on the first play from scrimmage for Winnipeg, and a pick 6 by Tyrell Richards. Play fake. Oh. It's intercepted. Duquois again. He can take it all the way. Marc-Antoine Duquois. Touchdown, Montreal.
Did he get some more votes? Has he got more votes than just me?
I think he's racking them up now. My goodness, this first half started with a pick 6 Alouettes, and late in the first half they do it again to retake their lead.
Zach Collaros is looking here. He has already counted Duquois as a deep safety, and Duquois sneaks up and robs the curl. Collaros back from injury, missed a couple of games, basically was knocked out early in the Edmonton game. He's thrown 3 picks in this first half.
Cote the point after. What a turn of events this is.
Yeah.
57 yards on the return for a touchdown by Marc-Antoine Duquois.
After the pick on the deep route that took points off the board with the Bombers in at least field goal range at that time. Again, there was just a great alignment by Duquois, because Lawler on the outside was what Zach Collaros wanted here. He's running that quick slant inside, and Duquois just basically cuts underneath it, and we used to call that robbing the curl. You just rob that inside curl route spot. That was a slant route, but same area, and he takes it back to the house.
He made quite an impression last year, I remember, and so do you, one of the star young safeties in the CFL. And I remember a touchdown he got, defensive touchdown against Saskatchewan early in the season, but I don't know if even he has had a night like tonight with two huge interceptions for different reasons. One potentially saving a touchdown and that one leading to one by him. 2 pick sixes for that Montreal defense, and Dequoy and the D comes back out on the field. 2:13 to go until halftime.
Yeah, plenty of time for Zach Collaros to flush that. He will, and you know, he's a veteran. He's going to look at this first half and say a couple of good things, a couple not so good. Noel Thorpe, on the other hand, what a tremendous call to bring Dequoy down, have him rob the curl, and take that slant to the house.
So Marc-Antoine Dequoy came in with 1 interception in this game. He now has 3. 1 for a touchdown and a 17-14 Alouette lead.
He also has a couple fumble recoveries this year coming in, and a couple of knockdowns as well, at 30 defensive tackles. That's number 2 on his team. You know, it's more than the interceptions, and they're great. Don't get me wrong; these are big plays in this game, but it's what defensive backs love. But he is contributing in a lot of ways that sometimes people don't notice necessarily. But again, I've watched him a lot from afar because I haven't done a whole lot of Montreal games being in the East, but I tell you what, he's my all-star right now.
Remember what Zach Collaros was saying about him when we talked to him this week? Deep ball, that's caught. Kenny Lawler in the act now with 1 big reception down near the 30. 1:41 to go. I was going to say about Dequoy, he reads receivers as well as anyone in the league.
Well, keep it away from him. If you keep it away from him, you got to throw it down the rail, way out to the outside, and that's exactly what Collaros does to Kenny Lawler, who's open against the zone defense. Lots of time for points here for Winnipeg before the half.
A 40-yard pickup. Yeah, this game has had a lot. We're not even halfway through it. 139 and counting in this one, and the Bombers are definitely in business here to, at the very least, tie the game, maybe go ahead again. We've had a few lead changes now. Oliveira pushing his way through, driving close to the 25, and a 2nd and short coming up here for Winnipeg.
Pretty good blocking up front here for the Bomber, with the Bomber offensive line, bringing in the Liam Dobson to play sort of tight end. He's going to kick out on Sean Lemon. Nice run lane for Oliveira right off that right side. Little road grading going on there for Buck Pierce and his big boys up front.
They don't mind that. That old line. Oh, he takes it outside. He's got some room. Inside the 10, 5. Just like that. The Bombers go back in front with that touchdown run by the leading rusher in the CFL, Brady Oliveira.
Are we having any fun yet? It's my question. How about the speed and acceleration? I mean, we talk about his patience at the line and the power and the spin moves, but Brady Oliveira saw some speed to the outside.
In his 4th year at North Dakota, Winnipeg's Brady Oliveira. What a year he's having. A big moment there, busting it outside to take it in. The point after is wide by Sergio Castillo. And so it is a 3-point difference now. Winnipeg leading it by a field goal.
A little bit of help here in blocking from Damian Jackson, who's going to go this way across the formation. That opens up the edge to get Brady Oliveira away. It just hesitates the linebacker, makes them hesitate just for a split second on that cross motion, get any backside chance for any defender to run Oliveira down from behind. Looked like Beverett may have been the guy responsible for contain, and he got caught in the wash. Buck Pierce says, yeah, 2 good running plays back to back. One off the right side, and then a nice bounce by your tailback for the touchdown.
Well, say this about Winnipeg, and it is a trademark. We've talked about it before. In the face of adversity, is there any team in the league that's been better at answering back and sometimes doing it very quickly?
Absolutely no panic in this team. And that's how it's been built. Veteran players for the most part across the board. This is fun. Little Thursday night football back and forth.
Over to you, Montreal. What do you got? Chandler Worthy.
How about this?
Yeah, there he goes, staying in. They do whistle and he does step out, but he has a good return. It was close, trying to tiptoe down those sidelines.
I was going to say, hold on. You're not going to return one for a touchdown before the half, are you? I mean, this is again. Watch the speed. You got. Does he step? Oh yeah. Couple steps out of bounds there. Oliveira went, come on. No, he didn't.
You're not going to do this, are you?
Okay, no, he's out.
Big play after
10-yard
big play.
misconduct foul against Montreal number 44. It's first down Montreal.
They call a misconduct foul against Bryce Notre. After that return by Worthy, who goes back out on offense now. We've seen that. He's a catch in this game as well. One of the dazzling returners that we have seen in the Canadian Football League.
Alouettes 25 yards away from a field goal attempt before the half.
Well, I don't know what Jim Barker's going to do. We heard about that 3 minutes to go, but Kate, Dave, and Jim, the whole panel, Milt as well, to talk about a very eventful first half here in Milt Steagle's old town that he still is a legend in, number 85.
King, he is. There's a street named after him.
Milt Steagle Way.
Yeah. Tired jersey.
I remember that night. But 6-7 years ago, the panel was here on site to join Milt when he was honored. So 2nd and 4 from the 43. Up at midfield for Austin Mack. Calmly takes that. And backs up 36 seconds. Out of bounds he goes.
Is such a great route runner that Austin Mack is earning the respect, or has gained it through watching the video. I think the Mario Houston watched the video. He bailed early on that to protect against the deep ball, especially at this time in the half with just seconds to go. Give him the out, defend against the deep ball.
36 seconds. How close do they get for perhaps a field goal? Pressure coming, and that one is complete to Mack, and gets it to about the 50 of the Bombers. So getting closer. Still a half a minute, at the very least, to drive to within field goal range. 5 catches, 55 yards for Mack, and there's David Cote.
Mack trying to get the call here.
Second and 4, 18 seconds. Deep look. Deep for Philpott. Coverage was there. Comes up a bit short. Evan Holm was with him. Ball's incomplete. 13 seconds to go now till halftime.
Philpott trying to get him behind Evan Holm, who has tremendously quick feet. Great pivot there to stay right on his inside shoulder, and had the best chance at that slightly underthrown. And the reason it was slightly underthrown ball was because of the pressure on Cody Fajardo. He's throwing as he's retreating almost. He steps back and takes a hit right in the chest as he tries to follow through with that.
So they tried the deep ball instead of trying to get it a bit closer for Cote. Instead on 3rd down, and they'll punt it away. 10 seconds and counting. And it takes a nice bounce there for the Alouettes. That leaves Greg McRae with nothing to do but head out of bounds as we get close to the end of the first half. 3 seconds on the clock, but another case of a great punt by Zima that limits the choices of a punt return.
We're good. Don't worry.
Cody Fajardo, 10 for 16 and 112. Of course, the points, the 2 touchdowns, courtesy of the Alouettes defense. Pick sixes by Tyrell Richards and Marc-Antoine Duquois.
Show you quick that last deep ball. Watch Cody Fajardo get hit here, but great play by Cam Lawson to not land on top of him. He's going to make the hit and then let him go. And the official right there says, that's it. That's good. We're allowed the physical contact, because if they don't do that, it's a penalty, another shot to the end zone, or at least a field goal for Montreal. Heads up play by Lawson.
And the Bombers just take a knee and make this rather interesting, explosive at times, first half come to an end. Well, the Alouettes trail. That man Duquois with a couple of huge interceptions, one for a touchdown. Back and forth they've gone, and let's not forget what the Bombers did on offense. Zach Collaros to this guy, Dalton Schoen, had a couple of touchdowns.
Early one on the roll, and then a nice corner route. Busted coverage.
All alone in the end zone. Dalton Schoen, couple of TDs. Bombers have to lead. Dalton Schoen standing by with John Liu.
Well, Dalton, could you give us a quick breakdown about your 2 touchdown catches in that first half?
You know, that first one, I thought Zach was going to run it in, but you know, he's had enough athletic plays in his career. He decided to flip it out to me. Second one, saw us man-to-man. It was a little bit of a murky read, so credit to Zach for sticking it out with me and giving me a good chance.
What does it say about the club that it's like 2 pick sixes and you guys respond immediately?
You know, it's a tough football game, and you're going to have adversity in football and life. It's all about how you respond, and with this group, we know we're going to have each other's backs. The defense is going to pick us up. We're going to pick them up in certain situations, and so it's all about the team and moving forward.
Thanks for this, Dalton.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, Dalton Schoen, 2 touchdowns in that first half. Let's send it to Kate in the panel.
And John, it's too bad. We were going to have this amazing debate at halftime. We're going to make everyone be a GM and decide who would they rather have on their team, Dalton Schoen or Austin Mack. But instead, now we have to talk about these pick sixes and Zach Collaros. In his first 36 starts as the QB for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he had 0 pick sixes. He now has 4 in his last 5 games, 2 already in this game. And I know the Bombers are winning, and that's all he really cares about. Yes. But this is not a good trend currently for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Zach Collaros, is it, Mills?
No, it's not. And you talk about just over his last 4 quarters, 3 pick sixes. That's not a good sign. And this is something we haven't seen out of him since he signed with the Bombers. His decision-making is usually on point, but so far it hasn't been that way. He's been the gift and the curse. Of course, he's led his team to some great touchdowns, but he's also allowed the other team to keep themselves in the game by this bad decision-making. So, as I mentioned, it's a good thing because they are up. That tells you what type of team they are. Yes, their quarterback is struggling. Yes, he's allowing this team to stay in the game, but they have so many other weapons around him that allow them to still be up by 3 points so far.
Well, he better figure out what Noel Thorpe's doing with Marc-Antoine Duquois, because that guy is everywhere. They took points off the board when he forced the ball into double coverage down by the goal line, and then he throws the pick six to him just a couple plays later. And where he came down from the safety spot like Glenn talked about and actually crossed the ball. So they got to figure out, Buck Pierce, they have to figure out what they're doing with Duquois that is really confusing them, because that's just a bad first half for Zach.
But that's more on Zach, not on Buck. I think that's more on Zach and his decision-making. You just can't make those throws when those guys are double covered or when that safety is being a spy and spying those routes, short routes. Yeah, you can't do that.
He just has to, they have to understand what he's doing with them. But again, Zach throws 2 touchdowns. They have the lead.
Yep.
That's Zach. You know, he's never going to stop throwing it. He's going to continue to put it up. Again, they're going to have to match him, score for score. And Zach's throwing, 4 touchdowns today.
You know, it's funny, like Dalton Schoen talked about it at the halftime there with John Liu. There's adversity in every game, right? And what's the consistency of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Brady Oliveira, right? Doesn't matter if Zach's throwing picks or throwing touchdowns. Doesn't matter if they're behind, ahead. And look, this guy is one of the most versatile backs. When you look at him, he's so built, so stocky, and runs so low to the ground, has that low center of gravity. But he's deceptively fast. And we see times where he gets through that first level, and when he can see daylight, I mean, he's breaking tackles all the way along. That one, of course, the helmet comes off. There's a flag on that one. But here he is bouncing it to the outside. And look at the acceleration. He sees the cone. Decoy tries to get there, can't get there in time. this guy is just Mr. Consistency for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He does so many things for them so consistently, and seeing it all tonight.
Obviously, you don't love seeing the pick sixes if you're a Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan, but we got to admit the first half of this football game has been absolutely fantastic. Coming up after the break, Dave and I are going to discuss a QB with a last name Rorik, not the one you're thinking of. We'll be right back.
Intercepted right away. Richards with it, and what a start for the Alouettes. Collaros dumps it, touchdown. Dalton Show. Big Dembski and more. Dembski on the run. There's a deep look to the end zone. Touchdown. Oh my goodness. Marc-Antoine Ducroix. Touchdown Montreal. The only storm hitting Winnipeg tonight turned out to be the one on the field. What a game we had with 5 lead changes. 2017 Bombers lead, but the Owls with 2 defensive touchdowns. Here's John Liu now with Montreal quarterback Cody Fajardo.
Cody, how did that first half of football rank amongst your defense's performances this season?
Exciting. You know, they got 14 points for us. We were backed up a couple times offensively. I felt like we did a good job of getting out from backed up. We got to continue to drive down the field and finish with points, help our defense out. But for the most part, I'm very proud of the guys. It's a slugfest. It's a great CFL first half. We got to finish in the second half.
Yeah, you said that you are driving the field, but what is the Bombers defense doing to prevent you from at least getting to the red zone for those opportunities?
Honestly, I think we've taken too many penalties as a team versus a very good Winnipeg team. We stressed it going into the game that they take the least amount of penalties in the league. So we're not helping ourselves. We got to continue to be able to just be on our P's and Q's, continue to get down the field, and just have confidence when we get down there that we're going to score.
Thanks for this, Cody.
Yeah, the offense still does need work, although to his point, Suits, they did get themselves out of trouble, but the defense is certainly helping them out and keeping them in this game.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg had that time of possession advantage, I should say, in the first quarter, and they had the field position advantage in the second. Fajardo talking about getting it out of his own end a couple of times, but got to find a way to put points on the board.
Let's get this second half started now. What a first half it was, and a 3-point lead. Winnipeg, Chandler Worthy mishandling the return for a moment, and when he does get going, he gets something going with it on all things considered to get it up across the Montreal 30 for Cody Fajardo, and a look at what he did in the first half.
10 of 16, 112 yards passing, did not throw an interception or a touchdown. Got Austin Mack on a bunch of those deep out routes. Set up for maybe a double move out there, although that's Demario Houston on a couple of them, who sometimes will make it look like you're open and then steal one. But that was a big run by Cody Fajardo, giving his team a chance to punt the ball.
Second half begins with the Alouette offense. Trailing by 3, Montreal is, and throwing right away into coverage. Austin Mack, and Winston Rose was there. Mack had 55 receiving yards and 5 catches in the first half, but that one falls incomplete.
Well, he had Brandon Alexander coming downhill. And, you know, he's running the post route. And here comes the post route, so here's what happens. You got to choose something. I'm going to protect myself because 37 is coming right down the rail at me.
Could feel that coming.
And boom.
Second and 10. Montreal at the 31. That is complete to the fullback, James Tuck. But he is greeted there by the weak side linebacker, Kyrie Wilson. Not nearly enough for a first down. And Montreal goes 2 and out.
Pretty good pressure off the edge from Jackson Jeffcoat there, just forcing Cody Fajardo to throw that shallow crossing route to a fullback. But the Bomber defense will take that every day. Second and long, throw it underneath, and rally to make the tackle.
With that 3rd and 6, Joseph Zima standing at his 20. Greg McCrae standing at his 30. And takes it just inside that, about the 25. And a helmet comes off, belonging to Tyson Otis Copeland as he pops that back on. And McCrae gets up closer to the 40.
Well, the panel talked about it. I mean, it's bizarre and sort of uncharacteristic half for Zach Collaros, who threw 3 interceptions and 2 pick sixes but also threw a couple of touchdowns to Dalton Schoen. Had the lead at halftime. After 3 picks, 2 of them going to the house. A bizarre first half.
Just big plays all around, and while 2 of the Montreal interceptions went for touchdowns, let's not forget that third one happened right at the Alouette goal line by Duquois, his first.
Well,
big turnovers for Montreal.
Interesting that I think Dave Naylor.
Winnipeg, number 66. 5-yard penalty. First down.
I think Naylor at the half said he's thrown 4 touchdowns. two to his team and 2 to the other team. But this is a championship caliber team and a 2-time MOP that, believe me, will let the first half go and say, hey, we've got a 3-point lead. We just got to go to work and improve the details in the second half.
Stanley Bryant was penalized, pushing them 5 yards further back on first down and 15. And that, a handoff to Greg McCrae to pick up a couple of the yards back. Still a 2nd and long coming up. 11. I'm told by our producer John Hines the last time a Montreal CFL team had 2 pick sixes was 1984 against Calgary, back when they were known as the Concords. Remember those days?
I do. I played against them.
Well, that's going back, isn't it?
That's going way back, my friend.
2nd and 11 now. Collaros. He has some time trying to buy a little bit more, getting chased by Jamal Davis, and he has to throw it away. So a 3rd down and long coming up. Punting unit heading on for Winnipeg.
Show you the sort of the evolution of this guy right here, Jamal Davis, who the coaches are telling us he gets better every game and every time out there. He stays wide for contain and keeps his responsibility. Watch his angle. Stop it there, guys. He takes a good angle to cut Zach off, not to chase him and get into a chase position where Zach can get the corner and run or throw.
Jamison Sheehan with an interesting kicking motion, end over end. It rolls down inside the 25, and no chance for Worthy to get it for a return. It's Montreal ball, trailing by 3. 3rd quarter, Thursday Night Football. Me too. And it's well used. And you may be enjoying some entertainment here at IG Field. 2017, Winnipeg leads Montreal. A first half full of big plays. Alouette offense trying to get something going. No touchdowns in this game for them. And on the ground, William Stenbach, he pushes his way up across the 30 or the 25. But 5?
Yeah, sorry, Rod. That's the answer to that last series where they got themselves in 2nd and 10. Tried to throw it underneath to the fullback. Bombers rally to the tackle, and you're punting the ball. So this way on first down, now Jason Moss changes it up. He gets Stenbach going. He cuts it in half, and now 2nd and 5, much more manageable.
8 carries, 27 yards. That's it for Stenbach so far, but a 2nd and 5 after that 5-yard carry.
Look out!
Off to the left, intercepted! You called it, and you said earlier about Winston Rose. Go ahead, try me. And he tried him.
Try it one more time. Go ahead, throw that out one more time.
He was nearly picked off by Rose in the first half. This time, he was intended for Worthy. Winnipeg ball. And the Alouettes end.
By his alignment, Winston Rose is back about 10 yards off the ball. He's basically saying to Cody Fajardo, I'll give you the out like I did in the first half, and then breaks underneath it with his eyes on Fajardo the entire way. He goes down the field and says, go ahead, throw the wide side out. Very close in the first half. This time he takes it.
First interception of the season for Rose. He missed a lot of time in the 6th game, 3rd game back. Collaros, he dumps it off to McCrae down at the 20 on that first down play. Bombers already, thanks to the turnover, knocking on the door with a 3-point lead.
throw and catch. He has second and short. Brady Oliveira time.
Couple of yards shy. Oliveira at 82 yards rushing in the first half, coming in as the leading rusher by far in the CFL this season. Hard count there, and a couple of Alouettes move. You see Davis and Sewell.
Winnipeg number 67.
There was movement.
5-yard penalty remains second
Chris
down.
Kolinkowski, the center, is flagged for that, so 5 further back.
Well, he must have moved the ball. Don't see the ball right there. Yeah, there's the early movement of the ball, and that's the D-line does drills for hours on looking at the, you would know this, at looking at the movement of the football.
And they get a lot of movement there, and obvious penalty against Winnipeg to push them back to a second and long now, 7 yards from the 23. Collaros with time and completes it to Dalton Schoen. It was 2 touchdowns in this game, and that one negating the penalty and a first down, Winnipeg.
And good protection for Zach Collaros to sit back there and just be able to step into this out throw, put a nice spiral on it, and get it out there on time, which is almost impossible to cover. Wesley Sutton did his best. He tried to stay inside position to take away any seam or slant route. And when Zach had that pocket as strong as it was, he could step into that throw and put it there right on time.
Schoen gets it down to the 12. First and 10. Winnipeg is pressing now after the Winston Rose interception set them up. Driving down close, trying to increase their lead. Oliveira, Brady Oliveira, who has a touchdown in this game, gets it down near the 5. Second down coming up.
His teammate Nick Dembski, number 10, is going to make a key block here to step up and make sure he gets Reed to get to the outside, open up that run lane. If he doesn't get there, J.R. Reed will crash down into that, and there will be no hole.
So Dakota Prukop at the Alouette 3 now in a 2nd and 1. Their short yardage QB. At the very least, just trying to get a new set of downs here. Operating in a shotgun. Oliveira, 3-2-1, and he drives down close. Not in, but it's a 1st and goal coming up here for Winnipeg.
Well, I thought on the ride and decide play that it was the quarterback's decision. I don't think this was Prukop's decision. I think Oliveira just said, "Give me the rock. I'm going." Just held a little short, but
either that or
he grabbed it.
Dakota's really selling that one, isn't he? With his left hand dragging along for the ride there, but a 1st and goal.
I wonder if right in that shot right there, Rod, that Oliveira said, "You did want to give it to me there, didn't you?"
An injured player, Wesley Sutton, down for the Alouettes. At a critical point for this Montreal defense. Trailing 3 at the half, that score stands. The defense that has certainly risen to the occasion several times on this night, but in tough right now.
Well, in tough after the turnover. I mean, Winston Rose
left with a short field. Yeah,
exactly, very short. Winston Rose's interception puts Noel Thorpe's guys on the field with their backed up against their own goal line almost, and now they got to try and just get to a field goal.
Wesley Sutton remains down. We'll take a break and be back in a moment here at IG Field. PSN. The injured player for Montreal, Wesley Sutton. Helmet off, getting escorted off.
Yeah, he made the tackle on Oliveira. He comes off the left side of your screen here and will get Oliveira in the backfield. I didn't notice that little stumble from Oliveira. And then he goes over. Looks like by that reaction, maybe a stinger. Get examined.
Dakota Prukop to make it a 2-score game. Waiting for a signal. Does he break the play? And he does. Winnipeg touchdown. Prukop. And that's his 4th of the season as the Bombers, after a turnover, start to open things up.
Right down the line. No offsides, no early movement. No way that Jason Moss can, from that angle, challenge this spot. There's no way to. That's maybe the most difficult challenge to win is the short yardage play.
All those big guys up front.
Yeah, a few tons in there.
Quite a few. 6 plays, 26 yards in under 3 minutes after the Winston Rose interception. First turnover given up by the Alouettes in this game, but it ultimately proves costly, as have Winnipeg's. And those interceptions, but the point after by Castillo, that is through, and it's a 10-point game now. It's been close every step of the way. This is the biggest breathing room either team has had in this game, close to halfway through the third quarter.
Well, Cody Fajardo said it to John at halftime that, you know, the offense has got to start contributing and chipping in here, that he was proud of the way the defense had played, and he wanted to step up in the second half and have the offense contribute a little bit more. So now he's put them in a bit of a hole. Now they're down 10. Got to go to work.
Anytime your defense can chip in a couple of touchdowns.
Huge, yeah.
Fajardo back after missing 2 games with an injured non-throwing shoulder in Hamilton. He missed the home game against Saskatchewan, which they won decisively, and then last week Caleb Evans leading that big comeback, down a couple of touchdowns in the second half, and Evans scored it on the ground for that victory to get them to 6-3. A little over a year ago, the Alouettes came into Winnipeg and handed the Bombers their only home loss of the season in overtime. Got some work to do now to make something like that happen again. Off the Castillo kickoff, it's Chandler Worthy. Right side finds a little bit of an opening, and a good return for Worthy as the pile keeps pushing and pushing from the 50 up near midfield before he goes down. So Fajardo and the offense have good field position to start. Down 10 points now, halfway through the third quarter.
Yeah, special teams so important, as you know, Rod, in this game. And when you get a big return after you go down by 10 on a major scored by Winnipeg on points off of turnovers, if Fajardo throws one, Worthy just gave him a little shot in the arm to midfield. It's big.
So 1st and 10. Fajardo 11-19 for just 116 yards and a pick. Tossed inside on the sweep. Tyson Philpott, and a good hit too on Dietrich Nichols as he put his shoulder down and picks up near a first down, and Nichols is slow to get up now.
Yeah, and the spotter will take him off too after the way he's reacted here on this hit. Wow, what a collision.
And Dietrich Nichols has taken a knee once again. So as we saw it earlier with Wesley Sutton of the Alouettes, they take their time with Dietrich Nichols here on a gain of 8 for Philpott, and a second and short coming up here for the Alouettes. And again, we will step away. Winnipeg's Dietrich Nichols getting some attention now. Last week in Calgary, it was Winnipeg's defense accounting for the touchdowns. Jake Mayer the throw, intercepted by the takeaway machine. One, Demario Houston, the only touchdown of that game, as we send it back to John Lou.
Yeah, Rod, and Willie Jefferson has an expression to describe Demario Houston's breakout season. When you're living right, the ball finds you. Houston leads the CFL with 7 interceptions, along with 3 fumble recoveries, and Jefferson says that basically the dedication that Houston shows in the film room, in practice, with his diet, makes it easy for his defensive teammates to want to help him out with those tough matchups he faces on the boundary corner. And not only does Houston lead the league in picks, he leads his teammates with kids. 5 kids after he and his wife welcomed twins into their family 2 months ago. Guys?
And at least 1 interception for all of them.
Well, that makes a whole lot of sense. Look out!
There we go, Austin Mack with a flag coming out, and quickly, Fajardo went to work on that 2nd down and 2.
Makes a lot of sense with Demario Houston because you're chasing around 5 kids. You get quick feet.
Offside. Montreal number 81. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
I thought he was going to try and throw it outside to Houston's guy. Threw it inside to Mack, but the offside will take it back. And
now Austin Mack is down.
Banked up a little in the first half as well. Bounced back from that one.
You talked about there was that play earlier. Winston Rose, and it was Brandon Alexander coming in on him, and he was slow to get up. That was earlier in the quarter.
Alexander. Oh, he hit his head too on the turf. Early in the quarter, he took this hit. Really been #1 target for Fajardo tonight. And that was the one that he had to really protect himself in the middle there. Alexander again, coming from inside out. Have to sit out at least 3 plays. Hopefully he'll be able to shake it off.
Penalty against Mack as well, so a 2nd and 2 becomes a 2nd and 7 at the Winnipeg 53. Alouette offense still without a touchdown in this game. The defense has accounted for 2. Oh, the ball gets away in the snap to Fajardo, and the Bombers have it. Jackson Jeffcoat alertly comes in, and on the hop picks it up down at the Montreal 35. And for the 2nd straight possession, the Alouettes have coughed it up, and Winnipeg's in business.
Wow, look how fast that Jackson Jeffcoat goes after this football. I mean, he is off the edge, and he is gone. He sees the ball loose, and he goes and runs it down and beats the quarterback to it. Remember, Fajardo in the shotgun has a 4 or 5 yard lead on number 94. Look at Jackson Jeffcoat go get it.
2nd fumble recovery of the season for Jackson Jeffcoat. And you're right, did he ever shoot in and take advantage of a break? And the spot of the ball now is at the 40 of Montreal.
Well, the Montreal can't go to the well and asking their defense to bail them out many more times.
And Wesley Sutton, according to John Lou, doubtful to return, so a blow to their defense there as they stand strong on that running play for Oliveira. And yeah, another short field, Glenn, for that Montreal defense. Raheem Wilson.
Yeah, Raheem Wilson, and then replacing Wesley Sutton.
Raheem Wilson suffered a knee injury, a serious one, last October in his first season with the Alouettes, coming over from the Calgary Stampeders, and he just got back into the lineup just a few weeks ago. He used to be a staple in that Stampeder secondary. Second and 8. Quickly. Complete. First down. Nick Dembski. Winnipeg's top receiver in yardage in the first half.
Saw the spot. You can see Dembski coming off the line of scrimmage. He wants to stem his guy to push him back outside. That's J.R. Reed again.
The linebacker, that's why he goes straight up the field to push Reed to the outside, keep him wide, and then sit back down in the curl.
To get it down to the Alouette 27 now. They have a 10-point lead.
We haven't seen that corner route yet from Dembski. I'm just saying.
I'm going to remember that. If the next play coming up here, little play fake, and that one intended for Oliveira, and that's a bit high, so second down coming up.
Well, you know, sometimes you get a gut feeling. Watch number 10 come out here, and guess what route he runs. Now, because of the pressure, there's his corner route. Because of the pressure, Zach Collaros can't get it out there to him, but it was the corner.
And how many times have we seen Collaros throw on the move, rolling out to the right into the end zone from about that distance? Oftentimes on that corner route you talk about.
Is it Jason Tucker like?
Jason Tucker.
Ricky Ray to Tucker?
Very good analogy. Pump fake. Second time gets it off alertly to Dembski, who gets it down near the 20. They needed 10. They're shy of the first down. It'll be about a 3 yards shy for Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think you take the points here, and that's exactly what Coach O'Shea will do. Tempting. You can tell by his reaction. He's like, you know, if we had one more, maybe.
Chance to make it a 13-point game. Castillo 0 for 1 in this one. We'll make that 1 for 2. 3 more on the board. Blue Bombers add to their lead. 30-17 now. Late third quarter.
One guy that's had a quiet game so far, but better not rule him out, is Willie Jefferson, who is trying to track down Matthew Betts in the sack race, but is maybe the best all time in doing this. Just knocking the ball out of the air, the knockdown at the line of scrimmage. His timing is so good. I mean, he's long, he's got those long arms, long reach, but it's not just about what he can do physically.
At the 40 after the field goal, Fajardo and the offense back on. Philpott with the catch, but coming in 3 possessions in the second half. They've turned it over twice. No first downs. They got a second down coming up here.
But the defense did bail them out again with the Bombers on the turnover in plus territory. The defense bails them out, holds them to a field goal, keeps it a 2-possession game. Noel Thorpe trying to keep them up. Might be asked to do it one more time.
But net offense of 169 yards coming into this possession. Flag coming out on that second down and short. And certainly not enough for a first down on that play
Procedure.
alone.
Montreal number 40.
Wow.
5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Well, this is one of the reasons. I mean, you know, in the last 2 or 3 series in a row, Jason Moss's offense has had production on first down to get it into a 2nd and 4, 3. Down at the bottom of the line here, you're going to see the procedure down to the 4 or 3 yard mark where, you know, it's a very manageable second down, and then they get that penalty, putting them back in 2nd and long.
2nd and 8 specifically at their 42. Crowd picking up at IG Field. Their Bombers ahead by 13 now. 4-man rush. Willie Jefferson gets the hands up, and it gets away to Walter Fletcher. And a helmet comes off on that one. It's Kyrie Wilson's helmet. And on that second down play, Fletcher gets close to a Montreal first down, a little shy.
I'm going to say how close, because it looked like he kind of rolled a couple of yards. I wasn't sure if he was down by contact or not. Talked about Jefferson and his knockdowns. Cody Fajardo got outside him. He's not down there. He was lying on Wilson, and he scrambled for a couple more yards. I don't think he got credit for those extra 2.
No, because that would have been up around the 50, right around the first down. It is back 2 yards shy at the 48. 3rd and 2, and they're going. Down 13, Fajardo out of shotgun. Protection in. Deep look down the middle. Oh, intended for Hergy Mayala. Dietrich Nichols was there, but there was a chance for a big play, Alouettes. And it falls incomplete, and they turn it over again, this time on down.
Yeah, there was a chance for a big play here. No safety in Brandon Alexander in the middle, so they're going to try to go right to the hole in that deep post route to Mayala. It looks like Mayala got a little casual and took his eye off it as it was arriving. Give some credit to Dietrich Nichols, who was in chase, but like he got a little bit casual, almost sort of reaching for that ball like he didn't know Nichols was that close.
Mayala rarely gets a target. He got 2 last week, but one of them was a huge reception late in the game on the final drive that ended up with an Alouette win, but not there on the sweep. Dembski, he's breaking tackles. Nick Dembski. What a game he's having inside the Alouette 30. And yes, the Bombers, after a turnover, making the Alouettes pay right away. Another big gain to get them in close down to the 27.
He's starting back on the backside of this formation and then just runs that speed sweep to the outside. And, you know, again, when you talk to Nick Dembski and you say, what's your favorite thing? You like the corner out? Do you like to go deep? You like the seam? He goes, I like making guys miss. He's told me that time in and time again. When he gets the ball, doesn't matter how, doesn't matter what the route is, I just like making guys miss, and he constantly does it.
Did again there. Great running the ball, Dembski, and great running the ball, Brady Oliveira, who pushes his way down inside the 25.
Just great motion there. Buck Pierce going deep into the playbook to get that first play to Dembski to get him down inside in plus territory in a big way, and then tons of motion on that last play. Didn't have a lot of success, only a couple of yards, but you know that sets up 1 or 2 more down the road. You run that same motion. This time you don't give it on an inside handoff, you get it out onto the flat.
Story in the first half in big part were the turnovers committed by Winnipeg. In the second half, it's turnovers committed by Montreal, 3 of them, and the Bombers trying to make them pay again. Collaros has time. End zone long! Touchdown! Kenny Lawler. More points off turnovers, Winnipeg.
Zach Collaros flushes that first one. Remember when Dequoy came down and stole it? He robbed the curl. This time Dequoy comes down and he sits on that short route in the intermediate area. And Zach Collaros goes, okay, you got me once. You're not going to get me again. If you don't go back in the deep middle where the safety usually is, I'm throwing it to 89.
And he did. And Lawler got a step in behind Cabianento to haul it in. Kenny Lawler missed the start of the season. He's making up for lost time. And that's Castillo with the point after. That is the 3rd touchdown reception for Kenny Lawler. Just recently rejoining the Bomber lineup. Winnipeg, in what was a tight game, is really pulling away now. In the first half, Montreal takeaways kept the Alouettes in it. In the second half, Winnipeg takeaways are blowing this thing open after 3/4 suits, a 20-point lead.
Well, people will always ask, I mean, you know, why is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers so good? And you know, I talk about their culture and what Michael O'Shea has built with regards to each guy caring about each other, and that's why they don't get a lot of penalties. But you know, when you throw 2 pick sixes in the first half and confidently come in the second half, and look at Dequoy this time. Remember the coach talking about at halftime, you got to figure out what the safety Dequoy is doing? Well, this time he's going to go out and help out on Nick Dembski. But because he's so low, stop it there. No safety in the middle, and Zach says, hey, I figured out Dequoy.
Lawler gets in behind the coverage and picks up his 3rd touchdown catch of this season, and it's 37-17. What seems like all of a sudden for Winnipeg in what was a close game at the half. Chandler Worthy trying to break free again. He's had some good returns, and a pretty good one there to get up across the 40. So the Alouette offense in their last 3 possessions And a late flag comes out. Interception, a fumble that they lost, and then a turnover on downs.
I don't think there's a team in the league. Maybe the Argos, maybe the Lions, the top teams. I'm not sure there's a team that can overcome 2 pick sixes in the first half and go into the first half with the lead after doing that.
It's 15 yards.
If you play against a defense that scores twice on you in a half, that would put even good teams in the tank. Not this team.
Remarkable. And great work by their defense, of course. The job they did against Fajardo and the Alouettes offense, and the big play capabilities we see time and again out of that Bomber offense. And they've really made the Alouettes pay for coughing it up in the second half with a couple of touchdowns and a field goal and a 20-point lead. Fourth quarter underway. Big hole for Fajardo, and down he goes. Sacked. Lawson was in there. And Ricky Walker, too.
There's Walker. Lawson beside him. Little stunt where they twist up front.
They share that one?
Yeah, they'll split that one.
Walker had 2 coming into the game, or 3, and Lawson had 2. 2nd and 17 in that loss. Quickly throwing, and that one incomplete, intended for Tyson Philpott. Brandon Alexander there.
Well, Montreal go back and look at this, and they'll say, we certainly can't put it on our defense. Put them in bad situation too many times.
Joseph Zema to kick it away. The clock go right down. McRae at the 20. Flags come out for no yards. He breaks free to the right. Lots of room with Zema waiting for him. He gets away from him too. Jeshrin Antwi, last one back to prevent McRae from taking it all the way. The no yards was coming up against the Alouettes, and Greg McRae burst free.
No yards. Montreal number 42. The penalties decline.
It was close for a while, but the home side is really breaking away now. 37-17, fourth quarter. Big night for the Bombers and grassroots football in Manitoba. Back to John Liu.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. Now, tonight there were over 750 youth tackle football players in attendance, and that's really a reflection of what the Bombers have been doing with youth tackle football, which has grown in the province 30% last year, and so far 25% in 2023. And that's the Bombers with their marketing. They're reaching kids through their free football programs. Over 1,000 kids benefiting from those programs, basically introducing them to youth tackle football. And earlier this week, the Bombers donated 525 helmets to 35 high school programs around the province. So, hey, a few years from now, we might see the next Nick Dembski or Brady Oliveira or Andrew Harris suiting up for the blue and gold.
Thank you, John. Well, there's a team that gets it, making a big contribution to minor football in the province of Manitoba. That's a carry there by Brady Oliveira. It's a nice sight to see, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's how you build the business. Think about the business. Think about building the football, building the game in your province. I think Lamar Doman in Vancouver is doing such a great job of it, and so are they here. Saskatchewan does it as well. Across the board, we're seeing more and more of the engagement with these under 12 kids that are playing their minor football here in Manitoba, and John's bang on right. One of those or 2 of those, 3 of those kids may be the next Nick Dembski.
Planting a seed right across the country. Think of Quebec too, and grassroots football there, and the role the Alouettes play. Well, there's a look under pressure from Caleros, down a little one-on-one. It sails out of bounds. Raheem Wilson there in the coverage and wanting a flag. There's a flag that comes out, and down there on Kenny Lawler.
Pass interference. Montreal number 21. Automatic first down.
I think the argument here is that it wasn't a catchable ball because it was out of bounds, but there was an official standing right at the point here and didn't call it. Yeah, I don't necessarily see a penalty there. I don't know that he pushed him down.
Wilson getting into this game with the injury of Wesley Sutton earlier. So down close again. They're inside. It's at the Montreal 7. It's a 1st and goal. By the way, Winnipeg started for the 4th straight drive in Montreal territory. That's been a huge story in the second half, and one big penalty now and knocking on the door again.
I'll just say questionable penalty. How about that?
Raheem Wilson would agree with you. Faked Oliveira, dumping it off there to the fullback, Damian Jackson. Rare touch for him. Jackson in his first year in the CFL out of Buffalo, and Tyrese Beverette takes him down.
Yeah, I will show you Beverette because, you know, it'd be easy right now defensively to just kind of hang your head and say, hey, we gave it all we had. We got in some real bad positions, but Beverette isn't doing that. He's continuing to battle. That's a great close and tackle in the open field. Put Zach Collaros in 2nd down here.
Tyrese Beverette is a tremendous special teamer with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but really felt like he was given his chance coming over to the Alouettes at the weak side linebacker spot. So 2nd and goal, Montreal 6. And they are coming. And it's caught for a touchdown by Brady Oliveira. The Bombers celebrate again. Oliveira adds a touchdown receiving to 1 on the ground in the first half. And they're really pouring it on now.
And Brady Oliveira caught this ball like great receivers catch the ball. He had to turn his body inside. Ball was thrown on the inside shoulder. He had to just turn and reach back to get it. That's a tougher one than it looks because it's not a deep throw by any means, but short throw to the flat, but a tough one to get your body around the right angle. And Brady Oliveira made it look easy.
2nd touchdown catch. He has 4 on the ground in the season. By the way, Oliveira had already eclipsed 100 yards rushing tonight. His 5th 100-yard plus TD game, or rushing yards game this season. But speaking of TDs, there's number 2 through the air this time as Winnipeg increases the lead. To quote a line from Anchorman, that escalated quickly. Yes. It was a 3-point game at the half, and since then, well, even at the end of the half, Oliveira got his first touchdown, 30 unanswered points by Winnipeg, and they're up 44-17. Chandler Worthy got a lot of business returning kicks tonight, taken down there by Brian Cole up around the 40, so back comes Fajardo and the Montreal offense, and it's been, well, turnover, and a punt that had a long return and a no yards added on top the last time around.
With that quote, you must have some leather-bound books at home.
Well, my office does smell of rich mahogany, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, that's the one thing. I mean, Zach Collaros, you know, has a wild first half, and he knows his defense is so good that he'll get more opportunity. I mean, that's what they lean on each other.
Deep ball, one-on-one. Hergy Mayala, the intended receiver, gets another number 1, Dietrich Nichols. It falls incomplete. Saw the fullback, Damian Jackson, number 48, in there at defensive end on that play. Heading off now for Winnipeg.
This is about where Willie Jefferson gets a knockdown at the line of scrimmage, somewhere in here.
There he is, taking a breath. Geez, he got a reception, his first one this season earlier, and then he goes in on defense. Low snap, can't get away. Down he goes. Jake Thomas is there, and more teamwork on the defensive front for Winnipeg, and another sack registered by that Bomber D.
Yeah, that was Jake Thomas of the middle, assisting, going with Jackson Jeffcoat as well. Thomas is right here, and Jeffcoat on the edge, and they're going to work together to collapse the pocket on that side, and that's the side that Cody Fajardo was looking for a throwing lane.
We're giving up more half sacks. He seemed to be doing that a lot tonight.
A lot of great, interesting, subtle formations, subtle little changes in the formations Richie Hall is putting together tonight.
That Winnipeg defense overall, considering the way this game went in the first half, it's been outstanding. Not giving the Alouettes much at all. Jake Thomas is a part of that. Part of that last sack. Bombers have the ball again and a huge lead. And now it's time for the Coors Light moment of chill, and we have no problem giving it to the military and Military Appreciation Night here at IG Field in Winnipeg.
Yeah, over 500 men and women from the Canadian Armed Forces in attendance tonight, enjoying this football game in a packed house. We were going to have the squadron from Moose Jaw, 15 wing from Moose Jaw, do the flyover, but because of the unsettled weather early on and the possibility of lightning, that was called off. But we want to thank them and certainly thank our men and women in the military.
Absolutely.
Especially you think about all the wildfires that are going on. Guess who they call? They call the military to go in and help.
Getting a moment of chill here. The Bombers up big. And in the hands of Brady Oliveira. Still in this football game, but that man is not. Zach Collaros gives way to Drew Brown. And this time he does strictly because, well, let's face it, with the lead they have right now, may as well put the backup in. And what a job he did, especially in Edmonton, after Collaros got hurt, threw 4 touchdown passes and a huge comeback after they were down 22 against the Elks. And another victory, a close one, in Calgary last week.
Yeah, played well in that. I mean, just did enough offensively, you know, didn't put the ball in harm's way very often, or at all, really.
Oliveira already north of 100 coming into this drive as the helmet is lost there by, like, Richards. Tyrell Richards, and is slow to get up. He is hurt. Here's what happened.
Trying to do a little lip reading in the commercial break with Brady Oliveira, and I'm pretty sure he said, let's try to put 50 on him. He's running like he wants to.
Mentioning he already had over 100 on the ground before this possession, but here's a little sample of his handiwork, both mainly on the ground but through the air as well.
Yeah, when crazy things were happening and the two-time MOP was throwing pick sixes, Brady Oliveira was getting the job done. He was consistent. He was banging away. He had over 80 yards rushing in the first half, catching the ball out of the backfield. You know, again, it's championship team that is that kind of pedigree. They back each other. So if one player or one phase of the game is struggling, the other phase picks them up.
119 on the ground and 18 carries and a touchdown, and just the one catch for 6 yards and a touchdown receiving too. But what a night for the CFL's leading rusher. And you know, and that the highlights you were talking about on the running play for the touchdown, they were trailing at that point late in the half. And really the onslaught started there. They go to the dressing room up 3 and they've just never looked back. Tyrell Richards, the injured player for the Alouettes, and here's another look at what happened to him.
Yeah, let's take a look here because he's in pursuit to try and get to Oliveira. And he gets the knee shot. Friendly fire from Raheem Wilson. And they're going to take a good look at that and get him off on the cart so he doesn't have to put any weight on it.
And on this night, despite the way it's gone for the Alouettes now, the biggest play of Richards' young career happened on the first play from scrimmage when he intercepted Zach Collaros, took it in for the touchdown to give Jason Moss's team that early lead. One of 2 defensive touchdowns by the Alouettes on this night, but at least he is getting up, but quite hobbled. It is the first overall pick from the CFL draft a couple of years ago, Tyrell Richards. And for that man, a season-high 120 rushing yards July 1st against Montreal. His 2 best performances this season have come against the Alouettes. Thumbs up from Richards there as he gets carted off.
That was a nice play early in the first play of the game offensively for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when they threw the pick 6 to Richards.
A much different game than that one we talked about on July 1st when Oliveira really went off in that one too. That was low scoring. That was 17-3. And mentioning Brandon Alexander earlier, Montreal was threatening at 10-0 Winnipeg, threatening in the second half when Fajardo threw one to the goal line and Alexander picked it off. He ran it back over 80 yards, and not long after, as is Winnipeg, it was, I believe, Collaros to Dalton Schoen, and the Bombers never looked back. Only 20 points scored in that game. They had over 20 points scored by halftime and 5 lead changes. The way that game has gone in the second half, we don't see another lead change coming. Barring a miracle, and it's Johnny Augustine now in for Oliveira, and a good carry for the product of Guelph as he gets it inside the Alouette 50, and looks like he's close to a first down.
Yeah, good idea to rest Brady Oliveira. The Bombers will, of course, head into the back-to-back with Saskatchewan. Labor Day Classic and then the rematch, because we're almost at that point in the season. Some more games to be played this weekend. Don't get me wrong. Don't start thinking too far ahead.
Said that this is an East-West week.
Yeah.
When you've got the Argos against Calgary, you've got Ottawa against Edmonton as well, and you got Hamilton will be in Vancouver for the Tiger Cats and the Lions in a couple of nights. Quickly to Dembski, trying the sweep. Sean Lemon. Oh, he throws off it. And it's incomplete. Just threw it away. Yeah, he just decides to throw it away with Lemon bearing down on him.
Yeah, that was just heads up by Dembski. He saw that he was going to take a loss, possibly the good pursuit angles from Montreal, and he decided, you know what, I can just throw it away and we'll save the loss. He was about 6-7 yards behind the line of scrimmage there, so as long as it's across the line of scrimmage, there doesn't have to be a receiver close to it. If you throw it behind the line of scrimmage, there has to be a receiver close or it's intentional grounding.
So he threw it. So if Lemon had managed to tackle him, I guess you couldn't give him a sack, could you? That'd be a tackle for loss, but you know where I'm going. And that one, it's broken up. J.R. Reed there on Rasheed Bailey on that second down. Drew Brown heads off.
It'll be interesting to see if Jason Moss, they're the team that's behind. And I know the slogan in the Canadian Football League at times has been no lead is safe. I would suggest this lead is safe. So do we see Cody Fajardo for the final 5 minutes?
Or, we got a challenge here too. Or do we? The red flag coming out, Mike O'Shea. Yep. Rasheed Bailey wanted a pass interference.
Winnipeg is challenging the previous play for pass interference. The play will be reviewed.
Take a look at Bailey on this deep crosser, dig route, inside cut there. might be enough there for overturn of the play. I'm wondering about the, sort of the arm bar not allowing Rasheed Bailey to bring up that left arm.
O'Shea winning his first challenge in the first half of this game, and might be in good position to go 2 for 2 here in the red flag department.
And
After review, we have pass interference against Montreal number 29. It's a 10-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
So yes, perfect on the night in challenges, and bad to worse for an Alouette team that just saw this game get completely out of hand in the second half after they were close to leading it in the first half.
Yeah, I don't think, Rod, that challenge was about more points or anything like that from Michael O'Shea. I think that was best practices. I mean, you want to keep on your game all the time. Don't look at the scoreboard. You could be up or down, doesn't matter. If you challenge that in a 3-point game, then you challenge it now. And you're also doing it for your player.
Right.
Rasheed Bailey ran a good route and he got interfered with.
Well, he definitely would expect a full effort from his players throughout the game,
no matter what the score. So you just can't take your foot off the pedal, and I think that was the decision by Coach O'Shea. It had nothing to do with trying to pile on here with more points, I don't think.
So a 1st and 10 for Drew Brown. In at quarterback for Winnipeg. Zach Collaros' day is done with this big lead by the Bombers, and Johnny Augustine in for Brady Oliveira. Gets another carry and picks up a few more yards. And that Alouette defense that's really been beleaguered contributed a couple of touchdowns in the first half, but field position left with short fields because of the turnovers by the Owls offense in the second half. 3 straight times to start the half, and then a big punt return after that. So it's been tough field position for Noel Thorpe's Alouette defense, and that guy Marc-Antoine Dequoy with 2 interceptions in the first half, 1 going for a touchdown that at the time had the Alouettes in front again. From the Montreal 35, under 5 minutes in this one. Drew Brown getting more and more experience. He had it while Collaros is hurt late in this game, and another catch for Dalton Schoen, who had quite the first half with a couple of TDs.
Yeah, and they've got this great receiving core. That's why no matter what the score, or if they have a few mistakes early, they can bounce back from them, and they've got the players to do it. And they've got the coach that has created the atmosphere where they don't ever feel like they're out of it no matter what the score. And when you take a look at Michael O'Shea's record here at home in Winnipeg, pretty impressive.
27-3 record since 2019. Overall, they were 15-3 last year with 1 home loss. They've had 1 home loss this year, but on the verge of improving to 9-2. By winning percentage coming in, you could say the Argos were ahead, even though they had 1 fewer victory at 7-1. The Argos playing this week at home against the Calgary Stampeders, the only team to beat them this year. But the 2 teams that appeared in the Grey Cup last year have been showing it's no fluke how they got there. They have been the top 2, and the Bombers certainly making another statement against the 2nd place team in the East Division. The Alouettes are staring at a record of 6-4 now, and their next 3 games include BC at home next week and then 2 against the Argos. Off the hands of the intended receiver, and it sails into the end zone. That was Drew Wolodarski, the target.
Yeah, this Bomber team, interesting. They go into Ottawa, and you think of that game where Dustin Crum, he leads the Red Blacks in that big comeback, come from behind, down 16 points. And, the Bombers come off of that game and go, okay, no, I don't want to say no more messing around, because every game there's no gimmies in the league. You've got to earn your wins. But the Bombers sort of knuckle down, and they have almost 700 yards offense in the next 2 games, and win both. Head
Edmonton, BC, and then you think, Rod, they're down 22 in Edmonton when Zach Collaros gets hurt, and you think this is Edmonton's home win. Not against this team, and I don't think anyone was surprised that adversity hits every single team and every player at one time or another. It's how you deal with it. And your teammate's going to have your back, and I think that's why this Bomber team is so good.
And that comeback victory, as we see in a new quarterback for Montreal, is Davis Alexander, number 3 in the depth. Not Caleb Evans, but just a shot of confidence for a team that already has a bunch of it, knowing that, yes, Zach Collaros is the 2-time MVP, been the most outstanding player in the last few years in the CFL, that they could come back and win a game without him.
Down 22. Down 22 on the road.
Impressive. Davis Alexander drops the ball after the fake handoff, and Shane Gauthier and company. Ricky Walker in there too, making sure nothing more happened to that from Davis Alexander, getting his first reps of the season at QB for Montreal. 3-minute warning. Back at IG Field, and a foregone conclusion now after a close first half. All Winnipeg in the second half, under 3 minutes to go in this one, and the Bombers are leading by 30. Davis Alexander, the third-string quarterback for Montreal, is getting some reps now. It's a 2nd and 10 for the Alouettes. Out of Portland State is Davis Alexander, and under pressure he rolls out to his right, and no, intended there for Tyler Sneed, but that's knocked away, and a 3rd down coming up. Jason Moss giving Alexander a chance. Caleb Evans had started the last 2 games with the injury to Cody Fajardo. Both Alouette victories, although Evans in that first one against the Riders only threw the ball 13 times, which is a 40-year low in terms of pass attempts in a game. There's Evans, much better, great performance really in the second half, 15 of 20 in that comeback victory last week in Ottawa. Turn earlier in the half, and dancing around, and he gets it up across the 30. Well, this is game 1 of week 12. All these other East-West showdowns resuming tomorrow with the Argos, and they're facing the team this time in Toronto, the only one to beat them, the Calgary Stampeders, and then Ticats, Lions, and Red Blacks Elks.
Interesting that the Alouettes were looking at tying the Argos for wins if they could get to 7 tonight. Obviously that's not going to happen, and now the Argos have an opportunity to create a little distance between 1st and 2nd in the division. Calgary might have something to say about that. They've been close in 5 of their 7 losses have been down to the final 3 minutes.
They have. That one at McMahon, you recall, Chad Kelly was hurt in the first half. Cameron Dukes came in, and also Javon Leake fumbled a punt right down near the goal line, and the Stampeders took advantage on that play. So special teams loomed large in that Calgary victory as Johnny Augustine turning the corner, and he's taken advantage of some touches now, filling in for Brady Oliveira. But you're right, and it's interesting in the East Division, because when Montreal was able to come back against Ottawa, and I thought the Red Blacks would be able to tighten things up a little bit. Instead, it became 2 definite top teams at 7-1 and 6-3, and then you got the 2 3-win teams, and important games coming up, certainly for the Tiger Cats at BC.
Absolutely.
And for Ottawa against an Edmonton team that must have a shot of confidence now coming off their first win.
And BC, I should say, wants to keep pace, or at least stay close to the Bombers for the top of the division. They have a matchup, the rubber match, 1 win each so far this year, BC and Winnipeg, and they'll play later in October. So lots of great football on the docket coming up, and Ottawa still has 2 games against Montreal.
Right. So that could loom very large. And now the Alouettes have won the 2 so far, so Ottawa would have to win them both to have a chance to win that series. But you're right, big games coming up in both divisions. But interdivision play this week, and this is just getting started here in Winnipeg tonight.
That first game that Montreal played, the Bombers lost 17-3. I mentioned off the top that Dembski and Lawler weren't in that game for the Bombers.
Winnipeg.
The two Winnipeg receivers have combined for over 160 yards and a touchdown in this game, and I think if you're looking at front runners in the awards categories at the halfway point, I'm putting number 10 as top Canadian in there for sure. Lawler has been a huge add once he got through his immigration deals, but number 10 for me is a leader in top Canadian. And there's a bunch in the discussion, but Oliveira being the other one.
I was going to say, a bunch in the discussion, including his teammate, but isn't it interesting how Dembski always seems to be in that discussion? Certainly is this year.
Zach Collaros still, I think, even with a couple of questionable decisions in the first half that I'm sure he would admit immediately as soon as we talk to him going into the next week. He's going to talk about those ones, but bounced back big time with touchdown passes and was not phased, and I think still is your front runner in the MOP discussion. I mean, there's a couple of other names in that. I think Vernon Adams is working his way into that discussion as well.
Collaros.
Yep, 20 touchdown passes total for Zach Collaros in the season so far.
4 of them tonight.
And you mentioned the Argos. I mean, Chad Kelly's been in the discussion for the last few weeks. And I know it's real early, but we got 1:09 to kill, so let's do it.
That narrative. I mean, there's a lot. The Bombers are going to want to have something to say. I'm sure the Alouettes are going to try to get back and think they got some big games coming up. But, if you want to really get ahead, you can look ahead to October. If this trend continues,
It may be.
And I'm looking way ahead.
BC's got to keep pace.
Yeah, BC does, but I mean,
know where you're going.
I'm sure some are looking at the calendar for when the Argos wander into Winnipeg.
Oh yeah,
for a Grey Cup rematch. The way those two teams are going right now.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the West, but yeah, you're right. You go into October, that Argo.
Got to wait a long time for that matchup.
That Argo Bomber matchup could be really interesting.
Well, there's a smile on the face of a guy who threw 2 pick sixes in the first half and justifiably can forget about those, throwing 4 touchdowns and his team's up by 30. So we project now and give the Bombers this victory to go to 9-2. The decision desk, I am told, has said yes, we'll give that to Winnipeg. And there's BC, big one for them, and just huge for the Tiger Cats too, coming up in a couple of nights' time in Vancouver. The Lions will try to stay close to them anyway.
Yeah, probably bigger for the Ticats to get on track. No question about it. Try to get back in the fight in the East, but Lions certainly want to try and stay close to the Bombers, and they face each other later in the year, as we mentioned.
That is Kevin Kaya getting his first action of the year. Global player from France, played at the University of Montreal, and he was inserted into the lineup, and he catches the first down for the Alouettes this half.
Wow.
Kaya in his 3rd year out of the Montreal Carabin. Just seconds left. Walter Fletcher cuts it back. Alden Darby coming in to help out on that tackle there. Cameron Lawson in.
These games happen to good teams. I mean, Montreal has a good football team, and they're going to bounce back. I mean, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in Week 3 lost 30-6 to the BC Lions. We've talked at length about how good this Bomber team is in all 3 phases, and yet they had one of those games too. We still have 65% of our games going down to the final 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah. This is more the exception, absolutely, as they put it away. Well, it was so close. In that first half, there were 5 lead changes. There were no lead changes in the second half. Winnipeg led by 3 after 30 minutes, and they took off from there to win it by 30.
Well, to me, Brady Oliveira was the rudder, the guy that kept them headed in the right direction when things were going
crazy, and it was a roller coaster ride offensively. It was number 20 that kept everything on track.
Oliveira, another 100-yard game on the ground, his 5th of the season. Willie Jefferson and that defense, oh, did they have a night. There were pick sixes by the Alouettes, but the offense just couldn't produce enough, while Collaros and Winnipeg's O certainly did. Dalton Schoen, a couple of touchdowns. Oliveira, a couple of touchdowns. And Winnipeg improves to 9-2, running away and celebrating in style. Thanks for watching Thursday Night Football. SportsCenter's next on TSN.